What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and we got a new Dragon Plus article released today. And shocker, more Tasha's Cauldron of Everything news. This time, all about puzzles, which we knew were going to be a part of it. Turns out we know how many, and we even have an example of a free one and a little bit of a concept behind the scenes about what went into the process of designing these puzzles. So I'm going to jump over here to the Dragon Plus webpage. And you can see here we have a little bit about Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. So they're talking a little bit about, I think it's Alyssa, I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce her name, who wrote basically the puzzles for Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. So she's been playing D&D for 30 years. She's always incorporated puzzles into her adventures. And I previously had an idea for a puzzle book where a DM could drag and drop them into the adventure. And that's kind of what we're getting here. So 13 puzzles have been included in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, catering to a variety of different environments. But they go on to say they can be adapted to fit any sort of scenario. It says, it's better if a puzzle can seamlessly fit into the storyline you're telling. It shouldn't feel jarring or take the players out of the game, so we included advice on how to adjust your puzzles to fit into any scenario you want. And I would say that that's really important. I really like puzzles. I like solving puzzles. Like as a player, I love getting puzzles from the DM to try to figure those out. As you saw, I was really big into the Icewind Dale interactive map during D&D Celebration. I was a really big fan of trying to figure out all that and work with all of you in the community to solve the little previews. That was I really enjoyed that. So I love that part of the game. But I also recognize that that's not for everyone because one, if it's during a stream and you give the party a puzzle, even if it happens to be like maybe it's a physical puzzle or like a riddle or something, that really slows and bogs down the content. And if people are watching it, it could look a lot, you know what I mean? If you're watching a TV show and they're trying to solve a puzzle, they'll shoot it in such a way that it's intriguing. But like that's a storyline that's being told through like a continuing narrative medium, so it moves on because someone will either solve it or something will happen. But if you're at a table and nobody can solve it, it's just you watching people's wheels spin while they're trying to figure out how to do stuff, and then it's boring. The viewers disengage, sometimes the players disengage. So having contingency plans is important, and we'll keep looking here. So it says, for example, we might have puzzles that use a bookshelf and books on a bookshelf, but there's no reason that couldn't be rocks in a field with symbols chiseled into them. We also talk about how to adjust a puzzle for experience, difficulty, and how to make it part of your world. It's a great way for a DM to see a breakdown of how puzzles are written and get them thinking. And she says she has a couple of design philosophies with puzzles. They must match the D&D setting, and a team should be able to solve them, and the character's skills and knowledge can also come into play. If you're an adventuring party making your way through a dungeon, you're likely to happen upon a puzzle asking about pop culture celebrities. You're unlikely, rather, to find a puzzle about pop culture celebrities in the modern world. My puzzles are very in-world, and they take a party of characters, not just players, to solve. While I included a couple of riddles, a puzzle cannot simply be an abstract riddle where the answer might be a shot in the dark. A lot of people also think that traps are puzzles, but traps are usually just traps. I also make puzzles which allow players who aren't great at solving puzzles or don't believe they're great at solving puzzles to use their character knowledge to find the solution. Perhaps they're a dwarf barbarian whose heritage allows them to recognize the stone cutting patterns in a hall to make a history check to get a hint from the DM. And then again, here's the part I was talking about. Whenever a DM sees players starting to fold their arms, pick up their cell phone, or get visibly frustrated, those signals mean the players are starting to tune out of the game. No matter what's happening in the game at that point, those cues usually mean it's time to cut this short and move on. I don't want my puzzles to act as roadblocks, so they are never unsolvable. If all of the DM hints can't help the party get past the roadblock, it's time for another tactic. Explaining that it's better to shift gears and then simply hand the players the solution to a puzzle. A puzzle turns into a combat in a very natural way. After 5 or 6 attempts at trying to rearrange little carved statues in a specific order, maybe spirits come out of them and attack. If the characters destroy all of the spirits, the doors open and they can move on. Or perhaps a monster bursts through the door they're trying to open and creates the opening for them. Now they have to deal with the monster and then they can keep going, which is actually a very good idea. Again, don't let the players get so frustrated that they tune out and they have a bad time. if you have a monster or some sort of combat contingency. I'm sure you've seen this in certain video games, right? Where you could solve the puzzle, or if you kill all the monsters in the room, the door opens, either one will work. So it gives you the option of whether you want to just slog through the combat and get through it that way, or take the possibly faster, less resource-intensive route and just answer the puzzle. In the end, she feels it's a good question of balance. A good DM can read the table, and knowing players have to reach the end of with a particular challenge. And it says it's rewarding for players to have that aha moment. If you overdo it with the hints, you might remove their satisfaction of solving it. You also shouldn't take that feeling away from them by simply giving them the answer. But D&D is most fun when it's moving forward, so giving them another way out helps to add to the balance. And then again, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, coming on November 17th for $49.99. Now, and they also talked a little bit about designing the puzzles and stuff that we saw for the interactive map, but there is a free bonus puzzle right here that we can download called Display of Daggers. Let's go ahead and download this PDF and see what it says. So, Display of Daggers, difficulty medium. This is a basic cryptography puzzle where characters decode an alphabet to interpret a message left in by a smithy by a weaponsmith who was killed in a workshop accident. So we have some box text here to read. It is only 2 pages, or no, sorry, 3 pages. Okay. After waiting in the queue for months, you're on your way to an appointment with the famous weaponsmith Clegg Firedraw, noteworthy for his use of strange and rare materials in his metalworking. Entering the darkened weaponsmith's workshop, you get an uneasy feeling. The place is in disarray, with daggers and swords all strewn about, though Clegg's famous sword, Soulkeeper, remains on its mount, which stands on a desk in the corner of the room. So, in his work as a smith, Clegg's worked with rare and volatile materials. His latest endeavor exploded in his face. It would have killed him, but Soulkeeper, his sword, drew his soul into it as his lifeless body fell on the ground. When the characters arrive, no one aside from Clegg's lifeless body is present. The characters might wish to contact the local authorities, but the authorities might just as likely arrest the characters. Their best bet at avoiding taking the fall and getting their new items is to try and restore his soul to his body. Well, I guess first of all, you got to figure out that is what happened. So the workshop is dark when the characters arrive. They can find various projects that he's been working on. A bird cage with a cloth draped over it, and an iron altar that resembles an anvil. Clegg's body is curled up on the floor in the center of the room. Unlit torches line the walls. Towards the back of the shop is a doorway leading to the forge. The iron altar is formed in the shape of an anvil, and when Clegg's special daggers spell out the answer to the dagger code, Soulkeeper magically releases the dwarf's soul back into his body. So that's how we fix it. The brass bird cage stands on a pedestal. Clegg's pet bird Echo is perched inside, but it's hidden beneath a heavy purple cloth that covers the cage. Clegg's bird is a type of jay with pale yellow feathers and a black crest. If the cover is removed, Echo starts squawking the name Moradin, intermittently Moradin, the dwarven god of the forge and creation. Characters succeed on a religion check. Can recognize that Moradin is the name of a lawful good dwarf god, whose symbol is an anvil. Daggers. Dozens of identical, finely crafted daggers lay strewn about the shop in no discernible order. They lay all over the floor, a few scattered across the large iron altar. Okay. And we have the desk. His desk is covered in paperwork and design sketches. Above the desk, a diagrammatic drawing with multiple steps depicts a naked humanoid figure with the sword, Soulkeeper, floating before it. Curving lines run from the humanoid to the sword, representing the flow of soul energy. In the drawer, there are a bunch of sketches, a black leather book of notes with sketches of exotic swords. At the bottom of each sketch, carefully drawn daggers in different positions form intricate designs. And that's the handout that we saw at the end here. It says, when characters discover the notes, give the players handout 11. I'm guessing that's potentially from what's in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Soulkeeper. Clegg is no stranger to accidents in his shop. In fact, Soulkeeper serves as a final safety measure should something catastrophic happen. Should Clegg's life be in jeopardy, his sword stashes his soul for safekeeping. Other than its ability to safeguard Clegg's soul, it is a normal two-handed sword. While Clegg won't give up his sword, he'll reward those who restore his soul. And then his corpse is on the floor. He's bare at the chest, and the skin of his face and shoulders is burned and sooty. A line of dried blood runs from one of his ears. Because his soul is being held in the sword, he can't be restored to life unless his soul is released. If his body is healed, he remains unconscious until his soul is returned. And then it says swords. What appears to be 4 finely crafted weapons are fixed to the wall behind the desk. Each one is labeled with a small brass plaque. From left to right, they are adamantine scimitar, bondswood short sword, mithril great axe, and true steel pike. Upon further inspection, these weapons are revealed to be fake tin replicas. Interesting. All right, the solution. To solve the dagger code, characters must first decode the notes found in the desk drawer. Using the sketched images of the weapons and keeping in mind the rare materials that Clegg, the weaponsmith, is known to use, the characters must use trial and error to decode the dagger code. Once the characters learn these letters, they should be able to recreate the word Moradin on the altar with the daggers from all over the shop. The players can do so by writing out the dagger code on a piece of paper or by using some prop to represent their characters interacting with the daggers. The sketches in the notebook and the daggers translate are as follows. And you can see so it's adamantine scimitar, and that's what the little sketch pieces say. Right? This says bronzewood short sword, and that's how it's all spelled there with the different runes. Once the adventurers learn the code, they can spell Moradin, which would use those corresponding letters. When it's done, Soulkeeper begins to vibrate. It swells with silvery light until at last Clegg's soul departs the sword and re-enters his body, restoring him to 1 hit point. And then here's the checks here, right? The following hints can be provided to assist with solving. If the characters have proficiency with the hints located skill, they receive a hint. If no character has proficiency with any of the hint check skills, they may roll a skill check. So if you have proficiency with nature, you get to just know this hint. If you don't, you can make a DC 15 nature check. If at least half of the letters of a single material in the notes bronze and bronzewood are solved, the characters are stuck on the rest. The character remembers learning about the material and is able to fill in the letters. Perception check, DC 10, the character notices the daggers in the shop look exactly like those in the notes. Customizing the puzzle, extend this puzzle and incorporate it into your campaign by requiring characters to speak to other townsfolk to learn about Clegg's background and discover he settled into this town as a weaponsmith after years of clerical services to his god Moradin, which is how they can learn the password needed to solve the puzzle. Okay. Very cool. And then we have the handout here, which is the notes from his notebook. And then you figure it out that it spells Moradin. And then my question, probably my ultimate question from this, is it talks about how he uses rare materials. We already know about adamantine and we know about mithril. Does that mean that in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, we will get bronzewood and true steel as 2 new magical materials for magic items? I don't know, but I'm excited. So that is the current Dragon Plus article, at least giving us the little bit of extra we have on Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. I'll have to read through the rest of it. I did a very cursory glance, and I'll have to see if there's more. Perhaps I will do a separate Dragon Plus article, that I'll review the whole, obviously skipping this, but I'll cover the entirety of this new Dragon Plus article release here, and then we can do that in the future. So anyway, it was more Tasha's Cauldron of Everything news. You guys love it when I cover any kind of news that's happening in the D&D world, so I thought I would do that. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.